You see a Rolex on someone's wrist, and what's the first thing you think? Wow, nice watch, right? But what if the better thought is, wow, nice asset? That's what we're diving into. We're going to look past the shiny exterior and treat the Rolex for what it's become, a serious, and I mean seriously profitable investment. It's probably the #1 question on anyone's mind when they're thinking about dropping that kind of cash. Do these things actually hold their value? I mean, you drive a new car off the lot and boom, it loses thousands. But Rolex, well, that's a whole different story. The answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's complicated. And honestly, it's a fascinating look into a market that just doesn't play by the normal rules. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way right now. We're not just talking about a fancy timepiece here. For a whole lot of folks, this is a wearable investment. It's like a piece of financial machinery that's just as finely tuned as the little gears ticking away inside it. So you gotta ask, right? How in the world did a watch become a full-blown asset? Well, it all kicks off with the brand's reputation, which is, honestly, almost mythical at this point. And I'm not just hyping it up. Market analysts say Rolex is literally the single most reputable brand on the entire planet. I'm not talking just watches, I mean across any industry. That's insane! And that reputation, built over 100 years, is the absolute foundation of its value. It creates this level of trust and, let's be real, desire that no one else can even come close to.
Okay, a great reputation is one thing, but what does that actually mean for your money? How does it play out in the real world? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at some hard numbers and see what the market's really doing as we head into 2025.
All right, if you zoom out and take the long view, you see something pretty incredible. Over the past decade, the market for these top-tier luxury watches, it hasn't just been solid, it's actually beaten traditional investments like the S&P 500. Yeah, you heard that right. It's been a better place to park your cash than fine art, vintage wine, or even fancy jewelry.
Now, that long-term trend is amazing, for sure, but any smart investor is going to ask the same thing. That's great, but what about right now? And you know what? The last few years have been an absolute roller coaster.
And what a ride it's been. Remember back in March 2022? It was pure madness. Production was slow, new buyers were flooding in, and the average price for a Rolex on the secondary market shot up to a jaw-dropping $38,000.
But you know how it goes. What goes up that fast usually has to come down. And it did. The market's cooled off a lot since then. As we're looking at 2025, that average price has come back down to earth, settling around $26,000. Now, you might look at that and think, ouch, a crash. But for an investor, it's all about perspective. And here's why that perspective is so important. Even with that big dip, just zoom out 5 years. The market is still up over 40%. It's just a huge reminder that trying to play the short game here is a fool's errand. The long-term trend, it's been unbelievably strong. So what in the world is causing these crazy price swings? Well, it all comes down to the unique way the Rolex market works. It's really just a classic case of supply and demand, but on a level that you just don't see with almost any other product out there. I mean, the way Rolex dominates the market is just staggering. They make up about 30% of the entire Swiss watch industry. They crank out around 1 million watches a year, which sounds like a lot, right? But here's the kicker. When you look at the worldwide demand, it's not even close to being enough. And that huge imbalance creates a real dilemma for anyone who wants to buy one. You've basically got 2 choices. Option 1, you go to an authorized dealer, you pay the retail price, and you get put on a wait list that for some models can be like 5 years long. Or option 2, you head to the secondary market, pay a big premium, but you get that watch on your wrist tomorrow. And it's that constant tension between those 2 choices that fuels this whole investment world. Okay, so it's really important to know that not all Rolexes are created equal, not by a long shot. So let's break down what actually makes one watch more valuable than another. What are the things you should really be looking for? All right, here's the checklist. This is what separates a pretty good investment from an absolutely great one. Condition, obviously, is huge, but true collectors, they obsess over having all the original period-correct parts. The model and its specific reference number, that tells you how rare it is. And the real holy grail, having the original box and all the papers. In the watch world, they call that a full set. And man, can that send the value through the roof. And if you want to know just how wild this market can get, check this out. One of the most sought-after features is actually a factory defect. It's called a tropical dial. It's basically when the sun has faded the dial over the years. With any other product, that would just be called damage, right? But because it's rare and unique to those vintage models, collectors go crazy for this perfect imperfection. It can make the value just skyrocket.
So if flipping these things for a quick buck isn't the best play, what is? Well, the real power, the real secret to making a Rolex work as an asset boils down to just one thing: patience. It's all about playing the long game. And I've got one story for you that proves this point better than any chart ever could.
So picture this. It's back in the 1970s. There's a US Air Force veteran, and he decides he wants to buy himself a really nice watch. He picks out a Rolex Daytona thinking he'll use it for scuba diving. He paid just $345 for it. Now, that was about a month's salary for him at the time, so it wasn't nothing. But when the watch showed up, he took one look at it and thought, there is no way I'm taking this beautiful thing scuba diving. So what did he do? He put it right back in its original box with all the papers and just stuck it in a safe deposit box. And for more than 40 years, it just sat there, untouched. He had no idea at the time, but he just accidentally created the absolute perfect investment, a totally unworn watch with a full set. Flash forward to 2020. He finally decides, you know what, I should probably get this thing appraised. So after 4 decades of just letting it sit, what do you think that $345 watch was worth? $700,000. A staggering $700,000. I mean, just think about that for a second. Even if he had worn it all the time, it probably would have been worth 200 grand. But because it was perfect, pristine, with that full set, the value was just astronomical. It is the ultimate proof that this is all about playing the long game. And that story just perfectly captures the main lesson from all the serious collectors and investors out there. That temptation to sell for a quick profit, it's always going to be there. But most of the time, it's a huge mistake. The real, life-changing value is built over decades, not a few months. So it kind of leaves you with this final question, doesn't it? What is a Rolex, really? Is it just an accessory? Is it an investment? Or is it something more? A legacy that you can actually wear on your wrist? Something to think about. That's all for this explainer.